Welcome to today's Explainer. We are diving right into a truly wild blueprint today, one that attempts the ultimate global pivot. We're unpacking a framework designed by our sources to completely transition the world away from our current extraction-based, scarcity-driven economy and into something its creators call a guaranteed abundance reality.
Imagine, just for a second, living in an entirely connected IoT world governed exclusively by verified universal truths. Think about it. A world where all the stuff that normally divides us, international conflicts, political posturing, religious dogma, unchecked greed, is simply ignored by the system. The sources suggest a technological ecosystem that literally treats all of that divisive noise as tabloids, or even parody and satire fiction. It filters it out entirely, focusing only on what humanity universally needs to survive and thrive.
Section 1. A world of universal truths.
Our sources argue that right now we're basically running on a scarcity operating system. It's driven by extraction, fiat debt, and zero-sum competition. You win, I lose. But the proposed alternative? A guaranteed abundance reality. This is a resource-based economy where competition is completely replaced by cooperation, and it's anchored entirely to undeniable human needs. We're talking things nobody can argue with, like clean air, clean water, and nutrient-dense food.
Section 2. The ethical intent engine.
To pull this off, the sources introduce a digital brain called GENI, which stands for Generative Intentional Intelligence. Now, this isn't your standard predictive AI that just scrapes the internet to guess the next word in a sentence. Actually, it's designed explicitly as an intent engine. It acts like a massive algorithmic ethical firewall, hard-coded to align all tech and logistics with the highest human good. It automatically filters out that destructive, extractive noise, again, treating it like tabloid fiction, so it can focus solely on logic that actually serves us.
And working right alongside GenAI is QPA, or Quantum Intelligence Predictive Algorithms. QPA acts as the underlying prescriptive system, using what the sources call an Aikido protocol. Just like the martial art, right? It redirects opposing energy. It dynamically bypasses market panic and controversial data, and instead prescribes ethical, human-centric alternatives. So how does QPA enforce this? It uses a brilliantly simple three-step sequence. Step 1. Do no harm. This means an absolute hard stop to extractive resource use. Step 2. Do good if you can, which means actively building regenerative systems. And step 3, if unsure, just ask. Essentially, the system pauses its momentum to consult the logic and make absolutely sure unintended harm is prevented before it even happens.
Section 3. Designing Guaranteed Abundance.
Okay, so how does this digital ethics framework actually exist in the physical world? The physical answer provided by the sources is the ARQ-18 unit. And the blueprint outlines an incredibly ambitious goal, deploying 8 million of these advanced, self-contained habitat nodes globally by 2030. These are closed-loop habitats capable of generating their own water from the atmosphere, producing off-grid renewable energy, and growing nutrient-dense plant-based food in vertical food forests. They are quite literally designed to manufacture abundance on the spot.
What's really fascinating here is the deeply specific ethical framework driving the operations, which neutrally maps ancient spiritual concepts onto modern post-scarcity infrastructure. It utilizes principles like the Noahide covenant and the idea of Tselem Elohim, the concept that everyone is created in the divine image, to build robust bridges of interfaith diplomacy. It's this wild merger of high-tech hardware with universalist theology.
Section 4. The Peace for Profit Economy.
Now you might be wondering, how on earth do we fund an 8 million unit global infrastructure without relying on traditional massive debt? Well, they outline the Barn-Esquion ecosystem. It's a resource-based economy where financial value isn't based on speculation, but is anchored directly to physical life support assets, like those planted food forests and the clean energy from the ARQ-18 units. Remarkably, 50% of the production value is dedicated straight to global hunger relief, and participants mine equity not by burning electricity with server farms, but through spiritual proof of work, which means tangible, verifiable, physical contributions to community health and agriculture.
Section 5. Forging Human Earth Guardians. So we have the AI, we have the physical habitats, we have the economy. But who exactly is running these nodes? The blueprint specifically relies on post-combat veterans, with a focus on IDF lone soldiers. These are military personnel who served without immediate familial support. The program proposes a highly structured path to transition them from trauma-induced hypervigilance into what they call sovereign Earth guardians, achieved through profound somatic healing and an intensive ethical leadership fellowship.
To get there, these operators go through a structured 90-day sovereign transition protocol. It details exactly how the veterans integrate plant-based nutrition and spiritual detox to literally rewire their trauma loops. Phase 1 works to separate trauma responses from biological hunger. Phase 2 uses that fresh biological baseline to build spiritual clarity. And finally, graduation requires demonstrating that this newfound physical health has actually become a sacred operational duty.
This leads to a really profound system prescription straight from the GenAI intelligence. The idea is that global defense doesn't start with weaponry. It starts with the uncompromising ethical stewardship of your own biology. The operator themselves becomes a living sanctuary.
Section 6. The Global Moral Corridor.
The sources map out what they call a moral corridor. On one end, you have the intellectual and theological command center at Mount Zion in Jerusalem, which formulates the legal and ethical baselines. And stretching over to the other end, in Western Europe, you have the agricultural activation hubs in Portugal. Portugal acts as the gold master living laboratory. It's the neutral ground where veterans go for deep somatic healing and to master the agricultural mass production skills needed to run the ARQ-18 units.
It all comes together into what the sources call the triple helix framework integration. It fuses the GNI and QIPA tech algorithms, the physical sustainability of the RQ-18 off-grid infrastructure, and the human health aspect of veteran somatic healing. All three strands weave into a single, massive engine with one goal: the absolute total eradication of resource scarcity and systemic human conflict.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative thought drawn right from the core of this blueprint. If your own daily technology actively filtered out all the noise, if it treated political dogma, religious division, and corporate greed as total fiction, and it only prescribed undeniable universal truths for your survival and health, what would you do differently tomorrow? How would your habits change? It's a fascinating question to chew on. Thanks so much for exploring this with me today.